I always look forward to tonight. It's a great night because it's very unique. We reward volunteers and then we induct people into the Hall of Fame. It's a real eclectic mix of the past and the present, and no, it's exciting because it's just great to get so many people that are deserving in the room and then rewarding and recognising them. I just wish we could do it for more, but obviously it's physically impossible.
England is one of the stronger athletics nations, and it's our duty to remember, I think, some of the famous people that we've seen on the track and field and in the other areas of the sport. So it's an important event for us, and it raises the profile of the sport.
Very important, because it's important that we recognise the efforts of the volunteers. Behind the 11 winners tonight, there are countless hundreds and thousands of other volunteers who make our sport tick. It is the fabric of our sport. It is very unique compared to many other sports that I've come across because of the sheer range of efforts that people put in, disciplines, road race, track and field, cross country, fell. It's unique, and tonight is very special because it holds up those efforts in shining lights, and it's very important we continue that approach. Without the volunteers, who basically run England Athletics, so let's be frank, England Athletics is the sport. 132,000 registered athletes, the 1,500 clubs and registered bodies with England Athletics, and the countless hundreds and thousands of volunteers, coaches, officials, administrators, chairs, treasurers, fundraising officers, parents, without whom the sport would be absolutely nothing. So thank you.
Now please welcome your MC for this evening, Catherine Merry.
Good evening and welcome to the 2013 England Athletics Volunteer Awards and Hall of Fame. This is the 6th running of this wonderful event. We're here to recognise and reward just some of the many people that make a massive contribution towards England athletics.
And on the floor in front of me was the name Arthur Wharton in a brochure. I knew I'd heard the name somewhere before. And when I realised that this young man was the world's first 100-yard record holder, and he'd never been honoured, I felt it was my duty and my responsibility to bring him to the world of athletics and to the world of football.
Fully that England Athletics is not just a handful of people that are blessed and have the responsibility to drive forward the development of the sport on a paid basis, but England Athletics is all of us. Athletics is in England is how I would prefer to refer to it.
The winner of Services to Volunteering are Mark and Dawn Bookway.
Services to Coaching winner, Carol Jackson.
It's well deserved. What does it mean to you?
I'm just completely gobsmacked. I was gobsmacked to get the regional award, but this is just amazing.
Really? Modest to the end. That's what our volunteers are like, aren't they, ladies and gentlemen?
The winner of the Services to Athletics is Jean Pickering and the Ron Pickering Memorial Fund.
Who's going into the Hall of Fame for 2013. This is where we aim to recognise the great and the good from our sport. Now, this recipient's high level of consistency over a very long period of time was remarkable. Along the way, he collected European and Commonwealth gold medals, an Olympic relay silver, British records, 13 3A's titles, and the distinction of never having been beaten at a 400-metre hurdles event in international matches. His wide-ranging involvement with athletics must be really unique. World-class competitor, British team captain, college PE lecturer, meeting promoter, athletes representative on the British board, sports council member and TV commentator. He gave up teaching and lecturing to enter the field of sports promotion and sponsorship, and for many years was one of the most influential figures in British athletics as holder of the sports marketing rights. He was also vice chairman of London's successful 2012 Olympic bid. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Alan Pascoe.
When I first went into 400 hurdles, because I've been a high hurdler, I was terrified of what would happen in that last 100 metres. I always thought I could cope with the first 300. But once I got through that and ran a few races and realised actually it was working the other way around, I was stronger in the last 100 than I was in the rest of the race. So yeah, I was very happy with that.
So our second inductee, an international netball player who did not take up athletics until she was 18, occupies a place of importance in the history of women's high jumping on 2 counts. She held the world record at 1 metre and 72 from 1951 to 1954 and was the pioneer among female straddle jumpers. In July, she enjoyed her greatest moment at the Women's 3A's Championships at White City, succeeding over a height of 1 metre and 72 to add a centimetre to the world record, which had been held by Holland's legendary Fanny Blankers-Cohen since 1943. Despite suffering from high temperature cough and calf bleeding from a spike scratch, this tough little cookie put up a great fight, because in 1952 at the Olympics in Helsinki, she won silver. In 1953, she ended the year with a world indoor best of 1 metre and 67. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sheila Lerwill. You're straddling over a height of like 1 metre 70 plus.
Yeah, but I'm very cross with Mr. Fosbury because he was born 20 years later, and if only he'd been around in my day, I reckon I could have gone a bit higher.
That was my next question.
Yes.
It could have been, Sheila, it could have been. Now, our next inductee, Paul, as you all know, had he lived to see the 2012 Paralympic Games in London, he would have been delighted but astounded. When he was commissioned by the British government to be the director of the National Spinal Injuries Centre in Stoke Mandeville back in 1944, he could hardly have envisaged that his belief that his patients, mainly severely disabled military personnel, could benefit by taking up sport. And how could he have known that it would lead to such a huge worldwide movement? Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Ludwig Gutmann, and to help us induct her father into the Hall of Fame, please welcome Ludwig's daughter, Eva Luffler. Now, for our next inductee, being the first woman to break 5 minutes for the mile during the infancy of the women's event, was rated as a highly significant landmark, coming as it did just 23 days after Roger Bannister's feat. This lady was 20 when in 1953 she first smashed the world best for a mile with 5 minutes 2.6 seconds. And in 1955 she made 2 substantial improvements to the mile record, where she registered a time of 4 minutes 45, a time that stood as a world best for 7 years and a British best for 11. She also set 3 British 800 metre records and closed her season with a British 400 metre record. The next deserving inductee, Deanne Leather. What were you thinking? Was it always a goal, Deanne, when you were running, to break the 5 minute barrier, or was most athletes, was it just to win and the time came?
Well, I suppose once I got near to 5 minutes, it was a goal. So, yeah.
Now, our next inductee was a 3A's champion at 6 miles in 1946 and then at 10 miles in 1947 and considered retiring. However, his coach, Johnny Johnston, pleaded with him to continue, and in 1951 he made his marathon debut, winning in 2 hours 29.24 seconds to smash the British record, which has stood actually since 1929. It was in the same race a year later, though, that he really left the athletic world gasping. Up until then, the fastest marathon time ever recorded was 2 hours 25.39 seconds, and yet he ran 2 hours 20.43. But injury forced him, unfortunately, not to finish the Helsinki Olympic Marathon. We welcome Jim Peters, and please welcome onto the stage to receive his induction, Jim's daughter, Jennifer Wadley-Smith. He built up the most distinguished record in British cross-country history. English champion in 1938 and in 1939. An international champion also. But he was also a useful track runner. At 38, after winning his 3rd English cross-country title, he decided to take up marathon running. He was rated among the favourites for the 1948 Olympic Games, but a fantastic season, oh yes, in 1950, when aged 43, he proved himself the world #1 marathon runner by winning the British Empire title and the European Championships. We welcome Jack Holden into the Hall of Fame, ladies and gentlemen, and we also welcome onto the stage for the induction Jack's daughter, Joan Merris.
As a youngster, yes, I was interested, and father gave me the support, and I remember as a teenager one evening going for a run, and we were living in Birmingham then, so we ran the university, and coming along the Bristol Road, and father said, don't bother, sort of style.
So let me tell you just a little bit about Don Thompson. Don Thompson won 50-kilometre race walk gold in 1960 and bronze at the European Championships in 1962 and passed away aged 73 in 2006. And also we induct here this evening into the Hall of Fame Gordon Peary. From South London Harriers, Gordon, a megastar in his time, it's fair to say, won Olympic bronze over the 5,000 metres in 1956, bronze in the European Championships in 1958, and also set numerous world records between 3,000 metres and 6 miles. And sadly, Gordon passed away aged just 60 from cancer in 1991. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for inductee number 7 and number 8, Don Thompson and Gordon Peary. Where'd you start? He's been writing on the sport for 60 years and is probably still best known as the editor of the old pocket-sized Athletics Weekly from the 1960s to the 1980s. By 1954, he was contributing to Athletics Weekly, and in 1957, the founding editor, Jimmy Green, appointed him overseas news compiler, the start of a 30-year involvement with AW. In 1968, he succeeded Jimmy Green as editor, fulfilling his life's ambition. Probably nobody has written more words on athletics than this man, who in addition to his work with Athletics Weekly and later Athletics Today, and currently with Athletics International, he attended the first of his 9 Olympics in Rome in 1960 and was in the London Olympic Stadium to experience that Super Saturday. His most thrilling moments in athletics, one, he says, remains the Chataway versus Cutts 5,000 metre classic in 1954 when he managed to squeeze into the White City Stadium just before the gates closed. Ladies and gentlemen, cast your eyes to the screen for our final inductee this year. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mel Watman.
It's been my privilege all these years, and I mean, people like these are my heroes, and I'm just the guy on the sidelines, but it's been my privilege and pleasure to document athletics, British and international, for many, many years now, and hopefully for a few more years.
And I'd like to finish things off by inviting England Athletics Chairman Peter King to join me on the stage to formally end this evening's proceedings. Peter.
If we could do one thing in 2014 as a sport, it would be to make such a fantastic contribution in Glasgow that Commonwealth Games England could actually fulfil the ambition that I helped them reach when I was on their board, which was to actually top the medal table in the Commonwealth Games.
Thank you very much to all those who have been involved in putting on tonight's evening, our sponsors, our supporters, but most importantly the volunteers that make our sport what it is. Here's to a successful 2014, particularly on the track, in the field, on the road, when it comes to Commonwealth Games success in Glasgow.
The night's ended. How does it go so quick? But thank you ever so much for coming to the 2013 England Athletic Volunteer Awards and Hall of Fame. I hope you have had a superb time. I've enjoyed myself, and I look forward very, very much to seeing you all in 2014 after a great assault on the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow.